Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again with another one. Today we're going to go over drilling out spot welds, how I go about doing it. I have a lot of people asking me about it, about all the specialty tools that you can get for drilling out spot welds. I'm going to show you how I do it with simple tools that everybody got in their shop. With simple drill bits. Also, I had a major rust repair I had to do. Big job. It was huge. Stick around. Hey, before we get started, none of you have asked me about t-shirts, and I have a new one out now called Sticking Around. You've asked me, and I come through. You can also get stickers as well. So pop over to Fitzy's Fabrication at teespring.com. You'll see it down underneath my videos, the Teespring account. And have a look and check out the merchandise. Okay, let's get back at the old Datsun pickup. The last time we done a video on this section here, how to make up this panel here and how to install it. If you want to check it out in the videos, I have a link below. That's where I'll be doing this. Since then, I went ahead and made the other side, got that installed, and I done the two corners as well. I also made up this panel here. All I done that is with flat steel. The original one is here on the floor. The top is completely rotted out of it. Show you here. Where's the top? You see the top was really rusted bad, and the bottom was dented up, and the entire last 4 inches or so of it was completely gone. So I ended up making a whole new panel, and I just made it just flat steel. That's that recycled metal that I'm using, the cabinets. I never bothered to strip it off. I wanted to play with this here and see what it was like for bending and everything with the coating and everything on it. So, and I got that all done and made up. It's nice finish and everything on it. There's no warpage or nothing in it. It came out really nice. These panels came out good as well. There was no issues with them. Had to replace sections here, like I did on both sides. All that's done. All I got left to do in the box now is this section right here. I have a hole right here, but I'm going to wait till I stands up the box to do that. What we're at here today is this section over here. It's hard to see there, but if you look through this side, you can actually see light shining through in a bunch of places. The interior structure of this is all gone. We have an issue here where the actual hook is all twisted and is also rusted out. See the holes and everything in it. Okay. So I got to repair that, and I got to repair the section here. Now this is not something very easy to get to. As you can see here, the way this is gone, all along there. So the easiest way I find is to repair stuff like this here, because you can turn around and try to weld this piece in here and try to fit it and whatnot. I'm going to end up cutting this clean right off. I'm going to go back to here. You see where that hole to, and come back a couple inches behind. I'm going to cut it clean off there, come up here, and I'm going to cut it clean off here. Right along here, the spot welds, okay? Factory spot welds. I'm going to drill them out and basically remove this panel off the truck altogether, repair it off the truck. So all I got left to do is to come in and spot weld it in through here, and then weld it up along here, back together. It's a lot easier. Sometimes when you're sizing up a panel, you might find it say, oh, that's going to be some hard to repair. But then if you really look closely at it, you might say, you know, if I just chop that off, it's only need to re-weld it again. And, you know, make the piece off, do it on the bench, do a nicer job on it, get it all prepped up properly and whatnot. Because it's a lot easier to do the repairs on this, on the bench, than it is to basically leave it on the truck. So let's get started on this now. I went ahead now, and I went over and I found all the spot welds and I marked them. I marked the spot welds where they're to, so I got them marked. Now, I've been asked many times, and a lot of people talked about them too, drilling out spot welds, okay? People are always trying to save, you know, the inside metal and whatnot. I've drilled out a lot of spot welds over the years, and one thing I found that I found easier is just to drill them out all together. Just drill right down through, get clear of them all together. Sometimes you get the spot weld drill bits. Okay, they're wonderful things. They're, you know, you can't go to Canadian Tire and buy them. or you know, any over-the-counter thing, and they're not cheap. And any time that you come across a hardened weld, or you're on an inside edge or anything, and you strike anything a hardened weld, it dulls them blades out on them bits very quickly, and then they're just redeemed useless. I haven't used them in over 20 years, them spot weld drill bits. You could get a number of different ones of different styles that you can get for drilling out spot welds. Some fellas love them because you haven't got to drill right through and all that type of stuff. But to the average guy, you got to go on to Amazon or on eBay somewhere and buy one of these spot weld bits, and then you start drilling out a dozen spot weld bits, and next thing you know, you strike a hardened bit or hardened weld, and it dulls it out, and then it's deemed useless. All I've ever done, and I've said it 100 times before, is a simple little 1/8 bit, and then just start moving up in drill bit sizes. That's a 1/4, and that there is, I think, 5/16. So, you know, that's all I've ever done. Everybody got drill bits, okay? Drill them out. Don't be concerned about trying to save the metal in behind. I'm going to show you what I does with the metal in behind after I drill through it, if I'm saving the metal in behind it. A lot of times you'll run into a hard time to break the welds. You're still going to end up having damage on your weld here, on your metal and whatnot on the inside edge. Some fellas cleans it right up. It's a time-consuming thing, constantly drilling these out. You just start banging these out, you got them done. A lot of times when you do drill them out anyway, you're not going to actually be right on the spot weld, and you'll be grinding, you'll be off a small bit. You're still going to have to take a chisel to it to break it. So I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm going to start drilling these out. There you go. That's all I did. I just drill them out with a 1/8 drill bit, each individual one. I do this because it's a lot easier to line them up and do now to cut. It's a 1/4 bit or a 5/16 bit will go through this a lot easier with the hole already there. I see a lot of people out there trying to build, you know, drill holes in metal using 1/4 bits and stuff like that. Yeah, that's fine. I just find it a lot faster doing it this way. Yes, you're doing it all twice, but it's still faster. I've been doing this a long time, and this here is probably the fastest, simplest method that I found. I've used spot weld removable bits. I've used them. I think there's like 4 different styles I've used over the years, and I keep coming back to this. I can go to my local hardware store and I can buy a couple of 1/8 drill bits, and Bob's your uncle. So I'm going to go ahead now and drill them out. There's a lot of high tech, you know, people's talking about sharpening drill bits. If you notice that one there seemed like it wasn't very sharp or whatever. All I've ever sharpened with is on bench grinder. This one's getting rough now. I got to replace this wheel. But all I've ever done is, you can see these angles here. It's very hard to see because it's hard to focus on it there. I'm trying my best here. But you can see the shape that is there and that edge. All I ever do is when I comes into it this way here, you come straight into the wheel, okay? You go on the angle that's there, parallel to the wheel. Then when I go in so far, then I tip the blade, then I tip it down. There's no ream or rhyme of angles and stuff like that I do it with. Everything is just by the thing. And all I do then is I go in and turn the wheel, and I just rotate it out. Put it into the wheel and rotate it out. That's all I ever do. And that's all I do to sharpen drill bits. I don't buy drill bits. I don't like the fancy gold ones. I love the old style drill bits. I've been sharpening drill bits now my entire career. I've always done the same way. Yes, there's special angles. Everybody says they got to be cut on this angle and cut on that angle. I'm doing sheet metal, and this is how I've been doing it all these years. If you look at it, you'll see that's on a bit of an angle there. It's not straight to the cutting edge. It's not like the actual, it says it's got to be at a certain angle. No. As long as you've got a nice sharp cutting edge and it flows back off it, away from it, you'll have no troubles with it. There's the blade, the angle's on. If you look at it this way here, you can see the angle. It doesn't go straight down. Like it's not straight across this way here. It comes over and it's at a bit of an angle, like it goes down like this here on an angle this way. It's kind of hard for me to do this with one hand. But that's it. That's all I've ever done with them. To sharpen the bit. You notice I don't use no oil. I find doing body work, I never like using oil on body panels or anything like that. So yes, you got a tendency to wear out the bit a bit more. That's the reason why I like using them steel bits, and just resharpen them again. So anyway, I got them all drilled out now. Let's see how close I am and get them all broke free. So all I did, I just cut it clean right off there through there. I cut it right off there, right on in through. Same with on this end here. Just cut it off, get it out of my way. Now I've been pushing on this here and I'm looking closely at these welds and I'm seeing that there's nothing broke clear yet. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to run through these now with a bigger drill bit to open them up some more, because I'm running into issues that I think I'm still welded on the outside edges of it. That's the problem you got with some spot welds. Some spot welds looks like they're small, but they're truthfully they're really big. Now I'm going up to like a 5/16 drill bit, but you look in here now. If you look inside, you can actually see that that's separated there. It seems like to me that they're welded on. They're still hooked on this lower side of the bit, on the bottom side here. So it seems like when I drill the holes, this was the center of the dimple, but it seems like there was a lot of penetration on the lower side of each weld. But you can see that it's broke clear now. So all these here now, I'm going to go ahead and drill them out the next size up. Now a lot of them have just simply let go, just by prying on. You can see that, you can actually see the gap in there now. That one there is let go, see? And there's still a scattered one, like that one there is still holding on, because it's down lower in this corner here. Same with this one here. That one's let go. That one's still got a little bit. I'll just take a chisel now, down through here, and tap down on it to break it clear, so I can get them all off of that. That one there seems like it's really low. A few of them are going to put up a fight, but I find it's very hard to try to save metal. If you're trying to save both of these panels, which I'm trying to do, but I'm going to replace this in the intersection here. But a lot of times, just simply drilling everything right out, getting it out of your way, and then so there's no spot welder. A lot of times these here will just come apart. You'll just unsnap these and they'll just come clear. A little bit of work and they'll come off. So I'm going to work that off there. Now many of the spot welds just come clear, but every now and again you'll come across this thing, this type of thing. Okay? One thing I've always found is when you come across this thing here, and that's welded on this corner here, you can see where I tore it clear. If you try to hit this on this angle here, it's going to want to fight you, okay? They'll end up peeling it right back. Try to get behind it. Once you seize where it's welded, get it from behind. Tap it over. You see me tapping it for a bit and then changing the angle, tapping it again. That way I'm not going to tear this too much. Yeah, you can sit down and try to drill it out, but a lot of times it becomes a real pain, okay? And as you come across, I had a couple ones that were fighting me here. This one here was fighting me. And you can see where I had to tap that from this side here a couple of times to break it. If I had to run this way, I would have folded this here and this would have tore right on down through here. But that's basically it. And there's the panel. That's all let go. Now if you wanted to, say if you were saving this panel, okay? And you were saying, now what am I going to do about it? I went and drilled out all these. All I ever do with these here now after the fact is I'll put the vice grips behind this and I'll weld all these up. I'll leave them alone on the car. Either that or I'll weld up one lot of them. Either these ones here or these ones here. I'll weld them up off the car before I finish it off. So that way, don't ever try to like put that panel back in place. It's very hard to do. I just fit that in there like so and then try to weld up that hole, okay? That you're going to have a mess, okay? Always take that there, weld up that one hole there, a bit of brass behind it, weld it up, grind it off, finish it off, inside and out, so it's all done. Then when you come back over here and you fit that in place, you basically what you'll have is a flat section behind it that you can weld to. Amazingly enough, this rusted out, and this is 14 gauge steel. I'm totally amazed at it. Like, you know, this thing is made of a lot of 22 and 24 gauge metal, but this is big heavy 14 gauge and it rusted out. So I dug out a piece out underneath the bench, 14 gauge. So I'm going to go ahead now, cut out a strip, and I'm going to bend up this piece here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, a bit longer, the whole 9 yards. So the only problem I got here is that the piece that I got here is the same length. So that's no big deal. I'll manage with that. And I'll cut out a piece so I can actually bend it up to get this shape here. Anyway, I measured it up and I need about 2.5 inches, which is about here, and this is not big enough, this piece here. So I went ahead and I went down the basement again and dug up another section of steel. I hold on to stuff. Everybody keep asking me where I buy my steel. I don't buy it. Usually I pick it up over the years. I probably got this stuff now. I got 20 or 30 sections of this stuff, same size as this. I've been using it now off and on over the last 5 years. So it always comes in handy. I can always return to it. I usually got different sizes kicking around here in scrap steel. So never throw out scrap steel, especially for the price of it today. I'm going to go ahead now, measure down 2.5, cut off strip. Now I went ahead, got the piece of steel cut out, cleaned it up on both sides, and then I went ahead and I marked it on either end, as you can see here. And I scribed the 2 lines. What these 2 lines are is this line here and this line here. And then in between the 2 of them, there's a larger roll. These here seem to be pretty tight bends, but this one here needs to be a nice roll. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you something now, how to get a sharp line in a heavier steel. But all I did down this end here, you can see I used a marker. I marked it off so that I can actually see when I scribe my line in there. And then when I got the line scribed, I went and done a couple of little marks with the grinder. So that way, when I flip it over, I can see where the lines are on this side, because that's usually the case. She usually marks it on one side and has it bended on the other. So I'm going to go over the breakdown and I'll bend up the middle one here first. The very first one in the middle, I'm going to bend that one up first, and then I'm going to bend 2 of these outer ones last. It's 14 gauge, it's not easy to bend. There's my first bend. Right? It's got a right rolled edge on it. Now, the next one I got to bend now are these 2 outside edges. I'm going to do one at a time. Now, one of the little tricks I got for doing that, I want to make a sharper bend in 14 gauge. First thing I do is I'm going to line up this other piece of steel I got here. So it's close on the line, right on the line there. Yep. And I'll clamp that on. Not gonna work. I got them clamped down. All I'm using this for is a guide. I'm going to take the grinder now. I'm going to run the grinder along here just for a bit. I'm not going to cut through it. I'm just going to cut the edge off it here just to give me something, a fold on for it to actually fold on. I cut that a bit more. I have to check it a few times as well. Make sure you're not cutting too far or whatnot. That's better. Now I'll go over the breakdown. I'll bend that on that line there, and that there should bend sharper. Now clamp in place right on that line. As you can see, a nice sharp end, nice sharp edge in there compared to the other one. I'll go and I'll repeat the same process over here now and fold that one over. Here's a closer look at it. You can see on the end here, focus. Right. You can see the rolled edge, you can see the sharpness of the other one. You can see it better when you flip it inside. You can see how rolled this one is and how sharp that line is. I was never a one lover for really sharp edges on some of your body lines, but every now and again, cases like this, it works out nice. So I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to do the same process for the other one, bend it, and we'll be back. So here it is, all bent up. You actually see a little rolled edge in it, and the two sharp lined edges. This is a way you can actually make body lines if you wanted to. Probably bend that up like that. To do like a body line on the side of a car. You have it however wide you want to make it. Just that you do it in a flat position instead of on a 90 like I got done here. Right? You probably put more of a roll on it. You know, all different ideas you can use this process. You can see the back side of it there. The type of sharp edge that comes on it. It's nothing fancy. But it works out for this piece here. Because my whole intention is now I'm just going to cut this right along here and remove this whole section out of it all together. Now the problem I got is I got a mount here that's spot welded on here, and I got a mount here that's spot welded on here, so I need to mark them, and they're also welded on here, so I might just drill them out and get them ready so I can actually remove them, but leave them there because I don't want to disturb it up here. So, and I'll just spot weld it back on there. And I'll do the same thing here. This one here I got to repair, but I'm not going to do nothing with that yet because I might take that right off altogether to repair that. But first things first, get these drilled out. Now, I went ahead and I drilled that one out and I let it go. I pushed it back. Hard to see there in that lighting. But I got it moved, so that's let go there. This one over here, I went and drilled it out completely. I cut it off and then removed it because I got to rebuild it or do something with it. But we'll lay that over there for now. We'll just leave that there. We'll get this glued up first. So basically what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to cut this off here, or mark it anyway. Put this panel on her, and then I'm going to weld that across the top edge there. And I should be able to weld it on the inside, quite possibly. Yeah, that way I can find the outside edge ever done. Now I went ahead and I cut that section off. I cut it off, got clear of it. So now I got the new section here and I fit it in place and I marked it where the spot welds are going to go down there. So I set it up so that I can spot weld this here back on to them pieces there. Now as you can see, the holes are there. Okay, now this is where I'm talking about now. This is a prime example of it. I have 2 holes that I drilled right through here. Before I do anything, some people will put this together like this now and then try to weld that up. That is just a nightmare. It's already, you could probably get something in behind it. You can here, but in some cases you can't, okay? So all I ever do with these here is I'll always weld them up first. I'll get in there and I'll weld this all up and dress this up so it's all metal again. One of the reasons why I got into doing it this way here, when we were in the collision industry, we used to be doing a lot of salvage, and salvage cars were tricky to do. And the easiest way we found doing was to dismantle the panels. And you would have to save all the panels. So, you know, you drill out all the panels and drill holes in them all, and before you put them all together, you just weld up the intersections and as you're putting it back together. We just found it a lot easier drilling out the holes completely, taking panels apart, because you're trying to save everything. A lot of times when you're just drilling them out and, you know, you're only going so far, you end up beating everything up and chewing everything up trying to get through them, right? So that's just the reason why I do it, and I just find it a lot faster and simpler. Granted, I got to do a bit of welding and everything, but if you've ever taken apart a complete factory quarter panel and say, 74, 75 Trans Am and have to save all the panels to install them on another car, you know what I'm talking about, because there's got to be 300 plus spot welds on the quarter panel section on one of them Trans Ams. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to weld all these up now and dress them up and get them ready so I can start installing this piece. That's all I've ever done. I've done it like that, and I'll just grind that off. Then I can put the piece on, spot weld right to it, and I haven't got to worry about blowing through. So I'm going to head now and I tack it in place. And you can see I got the 2 holes here, and you can see now I can do a real nice job plug welding 2 of them there, because I welded up the holes in behind. So that problem's fixed here. And I tack welded it all the way along. As you can see, it is a little bit longer. I don't mind that, I could trim this up after the fact. I got to change the angle of this a small bit, but this got to be on this angle here, right? Because of the way this is mounted down here, it doesn't go up, go straight. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get this all welded up here now, and I'm going to weld it up and weld it up on the inside as well, and we'll go from there. Okay, I got that all welded up. I turned up the heat a bit and burned it right in there, because it's going to be hard to get on the inside here. So I'm going to be very careful with this one. I got to grind that off now, get that done. I straighten this up for the angle, and all I'm going to do now is I'm going to lay this on the end here like so and mark it and cut off the ends right here on the angle that you're supposed to be on by using this piece here, and I'll mark both ends of them there. I'm going to fit this before I finish this off and get it where I like it, tweak it so that way this here won't be too weak. Just a quick little test fit, see how it all fits. There's a bit of a high spot here, I gotta work and bring on that down, but you can actually see now, I can just turn around, plug weld all them spot welds, that'll be brand new. And the finish over here is pretty good. I'm gonna have to mark it in here now and trim off the length here, so I can cut that off along there for the spot welds so that's the same length as that there, and then grind that off there and dress that up there, and I'll just fit it together like so as I'm going and weld it all up. But that's pretty, I'm happy with the way that fits there now. I got it all trimmed up, ready to go, so it's ready to be grinded up. As you can see, I went ahead and I grinded all that off, grinded it flat, and then I went ahead back again now and I re-welded some spots again. So I'm going to grind them off now and finish it off, put a little roll edge on it, and then that there will be ready to go. Now I went ahead and I grinded that off again, dressed it, rounded out the edge, got all that done. So that's ready to go. I tweaked it, test fit it, everything's good. Next thing now is, remember that hook? There's one there, and I had one over here. Well, I went ahead and I marked it. I drilled for the 2 spot welds. And got that to figure out where that got to go. So now, I got to repair that. Ugh. It's going to be small and tedious, this is going to be. I got to twist it up, and hopefully it don't break off on me. The back is really weak there. I'm not going to get into trying to manufacture this again, make a buck and pound it all out. This is I'm getting to the point now where I'm just going to finish this with what I have. So I'm going to tweak this in the vise now, straighten it up, put a piece in this side here, a piece in the top here, and reinforce this down here on the bottom, and weld up them 2 holes there. Much the same process I've done a lot of things. I'm going to go ahead now and just go and do this. So it's kind of hard to actually film all this here, to say do this here, do this here. So I'm going to go ahead and repair this piece. When you see it next, it'll be brand new. Well, oh my, that was a challenge, I can tell you that now, but it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing this because it was so small and it was so rough that I wanted to, I think it'd be a good challenge to take on. It was something different. It's not every day you get to do something small as that. Now fellas are going to be saying, oh, you can buy them, you know, pick one of them up for about $10. Yeah, but that's not the point here, people. The point is that we built something that, with our own hands, that was basically gone, and we made it all up so it can work. You know, this could be a part of a Rolls Canardly, right? A really rare car. So, you know, it's one of those things. You just turn around and have fun doing it and restoring it. Got nothing to do with the time you get into something. But in saying that, I'd say I got about an hour in this, to be quite honest with you. Hour and a half between that and finish it. And I went to hell with it, and I finished it off with a bit of Hunter sandpaper, right, to show you. Well, I'm very pleased with it. Lay it next to the other one. See? So now all I got to do is go over here and weld that on, and that's done. But, yeah, fun little piece. You don't mind taking everything on, that's it. That was a rough piece, and that was not. All done with basic tools, and just a simple MIG welder. Well, I went ahead, I welded them on. Here's the other one. Set them up so they're the same height on the bench. So they're the same distance off that there. And then I spot welded them on the inside here and grind up the welds. So that panel is now ready to install. So I'm going to prep this now and paint this. And over here, I've talked about this main house before. We talk about rust on cars and the way these early cars were done. See that? It's all surface rust. That was all bare metal, and that's the way that came factory. And that's the problem with the early 70s cars and the 60s cars, that nothing was ever painted in behind a lot of these panels that were put together. They're welded together and then painted after the fact. That's the reason why this stuff happens. So I'm going to clean this up here and prep that as well and paint that as well. And get ready now to put this all back together. So before anybody asks me, all I did is I cleaned it up. Cleaned it off with a bit of 24 grit grinding disc. I never got carried away with it. I just scuffed it off, beat all the heavy rust off it, and then I painted it with a rust paint. That's all I do with this stuff. You can get carried away blasting it and putting a rust converter and all that type of stuff on it if you like, but you got to realize that right in behind here, all that's rusty, okay? This here, done like this, will outlast everything else on this truck, okay? Sometimes people are really crazy about getting rid of rust. They figures if it's there, it's going to come back. It's over here. And that's going to come back before it's going to come back here. So this here will outlast anything else that I'm doing here. So that is fine for me. I'm happy with that. That'll outlast this truck because many of these vehicles are not winter driven anymore. All this stuff happens because it's driven in damp weather, driven in winters, and in climates where it's bad. This truck now will be kept indoors, parked, and it'll be only driven on nice days and whatnot. And that'll outlast. This truck will be around long before I'm gone. So I'm going to go ahead now, fit the other piece on. I got that painted over there on the bench. I fit that up in place there now. I got that clamped in place there, as you can see. What I'm going to concentrate on first is getting this upper rail and the inside lip done. I'm not going to worry about the bottom or the spot welds running yet, because this is crucial here, because this is the section that you don't want, that you want it to look right. So concentrate on the upper section here, and then on the inside, then you can work your way down. Do these spot welds last as you're going along here. I'm going to clean these out before I actually weld anything to them. But I'm going to get up here first. I'm going to weld the top across here, the inside lip here. I'm going to weld it up right here. I'm going to weld all that up there first and get this here all finished up before I go down to do the bottom, because I got some fitting to do down here on the bottom side to get that to work properly. But that's basically it. It's not a big job. You can see once you remove it, it makes life a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead now and get this section welded up. Okay, I went ahead and I welded them on, and I grind and dressed them, welded them all inside here, grind them, dressed them. I can tell you that was pretty tricky down there, lying up in the bed of the truck, grind that up, but I got it all grinded up. A lot easier just to have to grind these little edges than it is have to put a whole piece in it, is it? But I got both ends done, and look down there, she looks pretty good. Okay. The hook is best kind. And I got her edges all dressed up here. And all dressed up here. So now all left to do is to weld all these up. I'm going to clean these out now, clamp everything together, clean them out, and weld them up. You see here I cleaned out the spot weld. You can see there's paint in these ones here. It's very hard to weld. Same weld to primer. I find it very hard to weld to it. And I just stopped using it because it was always a nightmare. You're supposed to be able to weld through it. And I've had troubles with it over the years. And all I've been doing ever since then is just basically using a rust paint of some sort to put in between the two panels. But you're still going to have issues welding the paint, okay? So you ever have a broke off drill bit, all you got to do is just flatten it off, just like that. Okay? One of my subscribers pointed this out to me. I thought it was a neat idea. I've been using it ever since. But all you do now is put that in a drill and just clean it out. Easy as that. So I got them all welded up. Nothing pretty. You see me spot welding, I'm pulsing as I'm going, because if you try to run a steady bead on these here, you'll end up burning up this metal, and you're going to add a lot of heat to it. By pulsating the weld, you're keeping the temperatures down from what they would be if you had a full hot heat going into it, and you got less likely of burning through this thin sheet metal. So I'm going to go ahead now and grind all this up, and this job will be finished. So there you have it, all the welds are grind up. So that's it for this job. Another hobble done. If you notice how I does my welding, I do a weld a section, grind it and finish it, and weld another section, grind and finish it. One thing you'll find is when you get into doing a lot of welding on cars, and a lot of you guys have been getting into it, and you realize that when you got a lot of welding done, and it leads to a lot of grinding, okay? And you really get frustrated looking to what you got to grind off, That's why I do a lot of my repairs in small sections, and I'll grind and finish each section as I go, so that way it's not overwhelming to turn around and sit down and have to grind all this off now. I had this done, this is finished, so all I had to do was finish this off, right? So just a quick little tip, just when you go do a lot of welding, do a small section, grind, finish it right off. That way you haven't got to worry about coming back to it. Welding in 4 or 5 panels and then spending 3 days grinding, you're not going to like it at all. But anyway, all's been replaced, chopped off, sectioned in, inside section's been replaced, this has been replaced, repaired, so that's brand new and reinstalled, all done with basic tools, simple little drill bits for 1/8 drill bit, 1/4 bit, for drilling out spot welds, and then just work your way up in bit size till it actually breaks free. And that's basically it. Hope you enjoyed this one. I hope the tips were good, and until next time.